When I was a kid, we lived in the suburbs and didn't have enough room for the horse that I desperately wanted, so I suggested we keep it up on the roof. I was not a bright kid, and surprise, surprise, my parents didn't go for it. Anyway, I've always had a soft spot for horses, so here are some of my favorite books where these majestic creatures play major or minor roles. Oh, and if you have a second, please dismount off your literary steed and like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's the only thing convincing me to keep getting on this YouTube horse, even though I'm constantly getting bucked off again and again. The first book I want to talk about is called Perestroika in Paris. And this cute book has a horse named Perestroika as kind of its main character. And it's about this horse befriending unlikely other animals in the animal world. The premise is that Perestroika is a racehorse who escapes his enclosure and begins wandering around Paris, trying to stay on the land for as long as possible. And his new home becomes a green space really close to the Eiffel Tower. It's there in Paris that Paris, which is the nickname for Perestroika, meets a dog, a raven, a couple of mallards, and a black rat. And each of these talking animals has a really unique personality, and they play some kind of small part in Perestroika's low-stakes adventure as the horse tries to stay hidden, fed, and free out in Paris. Overall, it's a sweet escape with a touch of humor that felt kind of like a story I might make up for my kids. Next up is Aloha Rodeo, and this was a fascinating real-life nonfiction story that builds up to a rodeo competition in Cheyenne, Wyoming in 1908. It's an us versus them battle between America's greatest cowboys and a handful of legendary Hawaiian cowboys. And cowboys in Hawaii, that's not something that I ever really thought went together, but there's never a dull moment in this book as you learn about the history of ranching in Hawaii. You get to know the personalities of the major cowboys both in Hawaii and Wyoming in the United States. And then you see this competition starting to rev up and get ready to take place. And then you get to kind of read some really cool stories about riding and roping skills that these cowboys had. It was also interesting to see how Americans viewed Hawaiians shortly after that island was annexed by the United States. And like I said, it was digging into something I knew nothing about, cattle culture in Hawaii. Who knew that that was a thing? So I highly recommend this one if you're looking for a neat, unique nonfiction read. Up next is I Rode a Horse of Milk White Jade, and this is set in, not in Hawaii, in 14th century Mongolia during the reign of Kublai Khan. It features a teenage girl named Oyuna, and one of her feet, when she is a little kid, maybe even a baby, is crushed by a horse. But she refuses to let this kind of physical limitation and her reputation as cursed because of it hold her back from doing what she wants to do, which is riding horses. Like I said, she's bound and determined to win this local horse race that's happening and kind of reverse the curse that people seem to think is on her because of this crushed foot episode. And she wants to bring good luck to her family as well, fortune to her family. But first, she's going to need a horse because she doesn't have one. So this courageous girl sets off on an adventure that includes bonding with a white mare named Bayan, I think is how you pronounce it. And then she's riding in Genghis Khan's cavalry in this like Mulan-like switcheroo where they think she's a guy, but of course she's a girl. And then it's really about her learning to trust in her own strength and her own skills, even if she does have this physical limitation. It also features outstanding, extremely detailed writing about the Mongolian steppes. It's not a landscape I was at all familiar with, but you really feel transported back to that time and place through the pages of the book. And that was probably like my favorite part of the book, just how the scenery feels, how she rides this horse in this beautiful, beautiful scenery. Next up, I'm gonna chat about The Horse and His Boy. And this is the 5th book in the Narnia series, featuring a boy named Shasta and a talking horse named Bree, who are both mistreated runaways on a kind of road trip together. And in their escape, as they're fleeing and they're having this adventure, they run into another human, another talking horse, another duo just like them, and then of course they stumble upon some classic Narnia characters who we met in previous books. This magical standalone novel feels different than the other books in the series though. It's still about courage, identity, freedom, all that good stuff. And yeah, I enjoyed the differences between the previous books in the series, but others may want more of the same from Narnia, the previous 4 books. Like I said, this one's different. At the end of the day, though, it's a short, funny travel epic that further explores the world of Narnia. It expands our view of it. And just be warned that there is a hefty dose of old school racism that can be tough to get past in this one, so hopefully you can get through that and maybe just kind of turn a blind eye for a split second, because the book otherwise is really good. Also on my list is All the Pretty Horses, and this is a cowboy western set in the 1940s that focuses on a teenage protagonist named John Grady, and he gets sideways with a horse thief. And during the book he kind of learns what it's like, what the expectations are to be a man in this time and in this culture. And then he also experiences kind of this roller coaster of what young love is throughout the book. And yeah, of course there are horses in the book, but it's this rugged atmosphere, this vibe that is created that really stands out about this book. It's dusty, it's rough around the edges, which perfectly reflects the novel itself. And also, it's weird to say that despite no quotation marks, there are hardly any commas, there's a bunch of run-on sentences, and ginormous chapters in this book, the writing is amazing and surprisingly easy to read despite all of that grammatical weirdness I just talked about. Cormac McCarthy is an absolute master who just blends adventure and gorgeous prose to capture this grueling life of cowboys on the Texas-Mexico border. And last up is A Sorceress Comes to Call, and it's about a powerful gold-digging sorceress who wants to marry a rich man in order to set herself up for the good life, and she has a 14-year-old daughter named Cordelia she's really innocent, she's this good-natured kid, and she's kind of trying to escape and get away from her mom because her mom is this evil sorceress who's been magically abusing her and ignoring her for all of Cordelia's life. And so Cordelia's first attempt to run away from her mom involves Falada, or Falada. I'm not sure where the emphasis should be here, but I'll just say Falada is a beautiful white horse, and Cordelia sees the horse as like her only friend. But then she realizes soon after that fact that Falada is actually her mom's familiar, who spies on Cordelia and kind of reports back to her sorceress mom about anything that Cordelia is saying or doing that mom might not like. And when you realize your horse friend is enchanted with some dark, evil spirit living inside of it, you may not want to be BFFs with it anymore. Anyway, it's just a tiny part of this book that I love. The story doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty details of sorcery, but it shines the spotlight on several wonderful characters instead. It's really well done, extremely well done, with witty, fun dialogue, all the way through it. There you have it, 6 books with horses that galloped into my heart. What other novels with this hooved mode of transportation can you think of? Let me know in the comments, and like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Happy reading.